I am.
All right. Who would like to start today? Eden, go ahead.
First and foremost, I think we're a veteran group. Our big three have been here. They've been successful. They understand what it takes. And they also understand the urgency. And so they set the tone for us. And we have a veteran group, so we don't have a lot of players that we're introducing to what it takes to be successful. I mean, it's an everyday thing. You can't have a day off. You can't have a lull. You've got to be consistent. And so our group just really is very businesslike in their approach. Don't get too high, don't get too low, and understand the urgency of every season.
Alexa, then Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, they alone are difficult because of what they can do on the interior, because of their ability to knock down threes, because of their ability to exploit mismatches. But then you put those other players around them that are pretty dang good too, and it makes it even more difficult. So, I think for us, the biggest thing with all of their players, but especially those two, is that we've got to make them uncomfortable. We've got to make them feel us. We've got to make them hit tough shots, pull ups off the bounce over a contested hand. They're great players. They're all stars. They're Olympians. Sabrina's been playing great as well. Lainey always plays well. She's been terrific all season as well. And Thornton's been huge for them. So I think for us, we can't allow any catch and shoots or minimal catch and shoots. We got to try to keep them off balance with coverages, do some things differently. And we got to make them hit tough shots. And when they do hit those tough shots, we just got to go to the other end and we got to make tough shots.
Brendan.
I'll ask about the morning tip. Anything as far as preparation wise for the team, or is your team a morning team?
I mean, we practice in the morning, so we typically practice in the morning. So hopefully that helps. This is early. The 1 p.m.s are early for me and the noons, but this is early. But we practice in the morning, so I don't think it'll be anything any different for us. It's a big game. It's a big game. We got to be ready to go, and I have no doubt that we will be.
Maggie, then Emily.
Mm-hmm. It's Stewie's always been the best player on the floor. I mean, certainly even watching her in college, and covering her games in college, she's always been the best player on the floor. She doesn't always have to be the one that shoots the ball to see that, right? I think the thing that makes Stewie special is that she will do whatever it takes. She is a great scorer at all three levels. She finds ways to get to the free throw line. She's an outstanding rebounder. She has become a really solid defender. You see everything from the tip in at the World Championships, last summer, to knocking down a big three, whether she's been hot or not, to making the right play on either end of the floor for her team to win. So she's just the consummate team player, in addition to being, one of the best players in the world.
Emily.
Back today for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Compared to last time you saw them, how much does the roster?
Yeah, last time they were big all around, and they used that versatility defensively and offensively, to their advantage. This time you have Sloot, who is one of the best facilitators in the game. So making sure that again, we're disciplined to the schemes that we want to play with her. We don't want to overhelp onto her so that she can do what she does best and find her open teammates. It gives us a little bit more flexibility with what we can do on the defensive end of the floor when they're smaller, but I fully expect them to still play the big lineup. which has its own challenges. You know, we've got to make sure that we're locked in on the defensive end. They're really good, right? So, you know, they've been a perennial championship contender for a reason. And so we've got to make sure that we play with multiple levels of effort. We got to understand that it's not going to be perfect on the defensive end of the floor, having urgency when we're in scrambles and when we're in rotations to make sure that we make them shoot the toughest shots. But then we got to finish plays. We got to keep them off the glass.
Megan.
Mm-hmm. Our positioning is going to be big. You know, we've got to have shallow triangles off the ball. The last time we played them, and sometimes we have a tendency to be too flat and too deep in our off-ball positioning. We can't afford to do that. You know, this is a team that makes you pay. You know, when you're playing the teams that are competing for championships, they make you pay for every mistake. Our communication has to be early. It has to be elite. You know, we've got to make sure that our activity level, you know, we've got to be active, we got to be aware, and we got to anticipate next actions because they will get to next actions. So our activity level and our initial positioning are going to be critical.
Brendan.
You mentioned a nice outing last couple games, kind of found her rhythm a bit. How has she kind of assimilated now into this match?
It's tough when you come into a group that's really got your solidified, you know, lineups and scores and then positions. You know, so I think for Tiff, it was just finding her areas that she can be effective. You know, we want to get her downhill. You know, we want to get her opportunities to get to the rim. And so as a staff, trying to put her in those positions and then reassure her from a confidence perspective that this is what we want her to do. You know, she's terrific at attacking closeouts. She can get to the rim. She can get to the foul line. She can knock down those pull-up jumpers. And so continuing to find positions for her to do that on the offensive end and then encouraging her to do what she does best.
Any other questions in the room? George on Zoom. George, go ahead.
Coach, just wanted to get your thoughts on the importance of getting off to a good start against this team. You know, a lot's on the line for them, just like yourself with the standings, but also, you know, they had a loss last game where it was a game where they expected to win as well.
It's important. It's important every game, but especially when you're playing a team who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. When you're playing a team that's got multiple weapons on the offensive end of the floor, you know, we know that there are times, even though we've been better the last few games, where we struggle offensively. You know, we can't be one of those teams that tries to keep pace with New York on the offensive end. So we've got to come out. We've got to have a good start. We've got to be really disciplined on the defensive end. And when we get opportunities in transition to get some easy buckets, we've got to take advantage of it. We got to be aggressive and try to get them in rotation and get to the foul line. But more than anything, you know, they use their length really well on the defensive end of the floor. So when we attack and we get a rotation, we've got to make the right decisions. We can't afford to go into 6'5", 6'4", and try to chuck up a shot. We got to make the next pass. And then we've got to take our open shots when we do make the next pass.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.